Good afternoon. I'm Joyce Brocaglia. It's such a pleasure to be speaking with you at the very first Women in Cybersecurity Middle East annual conference. As the founder of the Executive Women's Forum on Information Security, Risk Management, and Privacy, the most prominent member organization for women in our field, I can tell you that having a community such as this can be one of the most wonderful opportunities that you have, not only to become professionally successful, but equally as important, to become personally fulfilled. At a time when there is so much chaos happening in the world, I'd like to speak with you today about transformation and the important role that this community can play in building your confidence and helping you to personally transform. All of us in our roles as executives in the security, risk, and privacy industry play a significant role in both enabling digital transformations as well as mitigating the risks of their intended and unintended consequences. You know, we use that term transformation a lot, and yet I wonder if we ever pause to consider what transformation really means. When I think about the meaning of something being transformed, I think of something that is substantially changed. It's more than incremental. It's more than just an adaptation. It's a change in its structure, in its essence, and above all, it's disruptive. You know, ladies, it's on my summer vacation that I usually start writing my keynote for our Executive Women's Forum annual conference. It's when I get to run away with my husband and have some quiet time. For me, I need to calm down all the voices that are inside my head to find the room to allow myself to be inspired and to think about what it is that I'd like to say to our members. My husband and I love to vacation on the Amalfi Coast of Italy. It's our special place. Last summer vacation, when we were still able to travel, we decided to bring the whole family on vacation with us. And anybody that has children knows how hard it is to get everyone's schedule to jive. So it was an absolute joy to get to spend time with all of the people that mean the most to me. My husband, my 3 daughters, my 2 son-in-laws, my 2 grandsons, and my youngest daughter's boyfriend. We spent a few nights in Rome, and then we traveled to the Amalfi Coast and we settled into Positano for a week. You know, I couldn't help but get a little bit nostalgic as I watched my family playing at the beach and jumping off the boat and eating dinner together and just hanging out in our apartment balcony, talking and laughing. It was such a great joy to see them all so happy and getting to witness all of our special places through their eyes as they experienced all the excitement that seeing and doing something for the first time brings. As I watched my daughters and those that they love the most, it occurred to me that each one of them is at a different stage in their life, a pivot point that they will transform from. My youngest daughter, Lisa, moved into her first apartment the weekend that we got back from vacation. So she was buying cute things for the new apartment, you know, for her kitchen and some artwork and accessories. She was so excited to be with everybody on vacation, but she was also looking forward to going home and having a place of her own. So not only was this going to be a transformation for her, but for me too. You know, I've been so spoiled having Lisa home with us for a few years after college, knowing that my baby was moving out. Well, it brought tears to my eyes more than once. My middle daughter, Lauren, and her husband, Zach, well, they just got approval in the adoption process, which means that they could get a baby at any time. I watched them smile at babies along the way on the trip. They played with their nephews and they shopped for gender neutral kind of baby things. You know, they're entering a whole new phase of their relationship and their life. After 2 years of marriage, their life is about to change as they look forward to being transformed into parents. My oldest daughter, Jacqueline, just started a new job as a chief of staff a few weeks before our vacation. This was a whole new role for her at a whole new company, and it required a whole new set of skills. So she had all the trepidations that you'd expect about leaving on vacation so soon after she started a new job. But eventually, she too kind of relaxed into the rhythm of the Amalfi Coast. It was also the first time that Jackie and her husband Jason took my 6- and 8-year-old grandsons on kind of a non-kid vacation. So I'm happy to say that all went well, and they are now comfortably planning other big trips that they can take the kids along with as well. As for my husband, well, he's a pilot for United Airlines, and shortly after vacation, he had a forced retirement. He's been flying airplanes since his days in the Navy. So certainly this is going to be a time of transformation for him in terms of finding new ways to spend his days and a way to follow his passions and decide really what he wants to do in this next chapter of his life. And I'm sure it's also going to be transformational for us in terms of our relationship and navigating new roles and our times together and kind of figuring out what the future holds for us. Each night, we were happy to FaceTime my mom on our phones. And my mom, who turned 100 years old last week, is a remarkable woman. So we talked to her each night about our adventures from the day. But 3 days after we got home from that vacation, my mom fell and she broke her hip. So after surgery and a month of rehab, my mom, who was used to living, completely independently, returned to her home with a live-in caregiver. I can tell you, as her only child, it's been an overwhelming experience, and it continues to be a really rough adjustment for both of us. During this trip, it became abundantly clear to me that transformation is an integral part of our lives. It also highlighted how both my own family and my EWF family contribute to my ability to adapt, to cope, and to thrive in times of change. You see, sometimes we choose the transformation, and sometimes it's thrust upon us. Perhaps as I'm telling you stories about my family, you're thinking of your own family and the stages of transformation and disruption that they might be entering. Or maybe, you're thinking of yourself as you're experiencing some type of transformation in your own life. Does that resonate with you? I bet it does. The disruptions that cause the wheels of transformation to start in motion, well, they can come from forces within ourselves or outside of us. Sometimes we're the cause of that disruption, right? We are the instigator, the catalyst, or the hero. And sometimes we bear the brunt of it, right? Or the consequences of that disruption. So whether your disruption is big or small, if your eyes are wide open and your radar is tuned in, you just might find an opportunity to change the world. Now that might be a big world with a capital W, or it just might be your world. Either way, what I know for sure is that the women in CyberSecurity MiddleEast organization are the ones that you are going to build friendships with. And they will be the ones who will groom you to better identify, cope with, and take advantage of these disruptions. As I speak with all of you, I'm guessing that there are women at various stages of their life that are listening in. Each one of you is ripe to recognize the opportunities that are out there for transformation. Know that by creating a strong community through the Women in CyberSecurity MiddleEast, you will be creating a powerful sisterhood that you can turn to in times of disruption, who will encourage, mentor, and strengthen you along your professional journey. I know this is true because I've witnessed the magic that happens when women with shared experiences and values form a bond and make a commitment to support each other. When we think of disruption in the corporate world, we think of iPhones and Netflix and Uber and other disruptive companies or technologies that change the way societies interact and force their competitors to adapt and transform or cease to exist. In our personal lives, we experience large-scale disruptions as well, like the birth of a child, or the end of a relationship, or the death of a loved one, that really force us to change in a big way. But we also experience smaller, much more subtle disruptions that take us out of our comfort zone and that make us feel uneasy, uncertain, and afraid. For you, it might be speaking in public or attending an executive meeting. It's at those times when confronted with a disruption that we can choose to ignore it and become numb, or recognize it as an opportunity or a way to up our game, or even change the game altogether. You know, almost every good thing that has come to me and so many of the women that I respect the most has happened when we dared to venture out of our comfort zone. Think about the times in your life that you dared to be different, to take a risk, to buck the system, to follow your gut. Now think about the important role those people who supported you along the way played, and the incredible difference that they made to your journey. I know you're already accustomed to having a strong tribe of women in your personal life. You now have a professional sisterhood of women from all over the globe to call upon for support and helping you to move forward. For many of us, this venturing forward starts as a calling for a change in our life. There's a sense of possibility that awakens deep within us and a desire to search for something new, to start a new job, to end a relationship, to move to a new location. Something is calling you and you are willing to become transformed, to embark on your own hero's journey. You know when this is happening because it's like your worldview or perspective shifts and you begin to look at things in a different light. And once you actually begin to shift your course of actions, well, that's when the transformation process really gets juicy. That's when you begin to answer the call and walk away from what it is that isn't serving you well, your job, your relationships, your businesses, and the expectations that have supported who you were in the past. And as you walk into the unknown, now is the time that you have to find the strength to embrace that uncertainty, because this is the time that you are going to be tested. This is the time that you will rely on your WiCSME community to fuel your confidence, to bolster your convictions, and to support you along the way in your journey. Part of why transformation is difficult is because all major change involves the loss of something. And it oftentimes forces you to embark into unknown territory, to begin a new journey, even when you don't have a clear view of what your destination really is. How many of you can look back on your life and recognize the times that you answered a calling? Maybe some of you are in the midst of doing that right now. For me, I think back to when I was 25 years old, working in the World Trade Center in New York City as a recruiter. I had given up working as a CPA at Ernst & Young, and I wasn't exactly sure of what I wanted to do next. I took a job as a recruiter in what I thought was kind of a stopover on my way to law school. It was never my dream to start a business, but I had this nagging voice in my head saying, I think I can do this. I think I can start a business and get out on my own and be the one that's making the decisions and really the person that would be in charge. So despite my boss's threats and telling me that I'd never succeed, I quit my job. I found a small office, I bought some used furniture and a DOS computer and an IBM typewriter, and I started what 35 years later is Alta Associates, the leading executive search firm in our industry. I didn't know when I started Alta that it would be a business that would sustain me throughout my life. It was also Alta that gave me the access and the exposure to the remarkable women in our cybersecurity industry. That same nagging voice ignited my drive to found the Executive Women's Forum in 2001. As I look back, it's funny how acting on that first early calling to found Alta has had such a profound impact on many of the other major milestones of my life. It even affected you. I mean, I wouldn't be speaking with you today if I just went to law school like I planned to do. The over 10,000 women who have directly interacted with the EWF and the companies that they work for, well, they might have all been affected too. You know, I think it's true, and I'm sure even with events in your life, that when you followed a calling or a hunch or your gut and made a decision, unbeknownst to you, that decision had an unexpected domino effect on so many things that came after that you never dreamed would occur. The real question is, how do you hone your skills so not only do you hear the call, but answer it as well? I encourage you to actively engage in the Women in Cybersecurity Middle East organization and gain exposure to women like myself who partner with them, as well as your own talented members. We will act as your guide. We will help you to recognize opportunities for change, even if they're set in adversity. By witnessing other members and their struggles and their accomplishments and hearing their stories, you will find bits of information that you can take forward with you that will have meaning in providing perspectives in your own journey. Because you will develop deep friendships, these women will become your lifeline, your person that you call when you're in need of advice or encouragement. Many of the women who are participating in this conference have cleared a professional path that you are walking on today. So over the course of the next few days, get to know as many women as possible in the conference. Participate in networking sessions and speak up in the breakout rooms and try to invite at least 5 new people to connect with you. And then don't just exchange your title in your company, but tell them who you really are, why you're here, and what you're hoping to accomplish. These are the women that will mentor you in your quest, that will be there for you when you stumble to pick you up and dust you off. And they're going to quiet that harsh, hypercritical, self-sabotaging voice in your head and confidently push you forward to succeed. I've experienced it myself. I've only shared a few of my personal transformations with you, but what I can tell you is that as individual as they were to me, I really needed the support of my EWF family to get through them successfully. That's why it's so important for you to take an active role in building this community and being part of the transformation for women in your field. Having a forum like this for women in cybersecurity in the Middle East is truly a game changer. By participating in this first ever conference for women in your region, you are becoming part of a legacy that you can help to build for the generations of women who follow you. What a tremendous gift it is to have an organization willing to support your growth, amplify your voice, and strengthen your relationships. A community of remarkable and diverse women, each with their own special talents, experiences, and insights. I believe the opportunity that lies in front of you is not only to improve your own leadership skills, your education, your confidence, and your abilities, but to create a powerful, trusted network of women who will be role models for other women as well. This will likely require you to step out of your comfort zone and take professional risks that you might be hesitant to do. That's okay. Remember, the most important story you will ever tell is the story that you tell to yourself about yourself. So begin by changing the way that you speak to yourself. And instead of doubting your capabilities, tell yourself that you are capable. Instead of being afraid of the consequences of failing, tell yourself the consequences of never trying are much worse. Stop ruminating over and over about all the possibilities of things that can go wrong, and begin telling yourself the story of what will happen when things go right. The beauty of having an organization like this behind you is that this is a safe place to begin taking those risks. It's okay for you to start small. The important thing is that you take action and you move forward. If you're afraid to step on a stage and do a keynote, then start by introducing the keynote speaker. If you're hesitant about giving a solo presentation, then volunteer to be on a panel. One of the women who attended her very first EWF conference admitted to me that she was so shy and so nervous that she ate lunch in a small room all by herself instead of joining the other attendees. She couldn't even imagine herself doing any types of public speaking. But she began with the EWF doing just as I mentioned. She started by introducing a keynote and then participating on a panel. And I'm proud to say that today she speaks regularly at industry events, and she's a co-lead of our Rising Leaders Forum for Millennials. She credits the EWF with her success, but really, I credit her for having the courage to take just one small step forward at a time. And that's all it really takes. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Find what it is that you're passionate about, and then take one step forward. When I founded the EWF in 2002, I didn't set out to build an organization that would engage over 10,000 women from hundreds of companies throughout the globe. It started as a conversation with a CISO who challenged me by saying there weren't very many women in information security. I said, oh yes, there was. And I began writing women's names down on a cocktail napkin to prove him wrong. And as I kept saying their names, I wrote them down and I opened the napkin and I opened it up again and again. And I thought, wow, I'm going to host a cocktail party for these remarkable women that I know. So what started in my mind as a cocktail party ended up being 125 women in Sanibel Island, Florida, for the first ever Executive Women's Forum. Fast forward nearly 2 decades, and look how far we've come. You need to find your napkin and begin writing down your own ideas, and then take your first step and see where it leads you. The tremendous advantage that you have and the wonderful blessing that you share with each other is that the Women in Cybersecurity Middle East is an organization in its infancy. That means you, as an individual, can have an impact on its culture, its success, and its mission. But in order for you to reap those benefits to the fullest, it is absolutely essential that you also contribute to their making. So first, become a WiCSME member. Then step up and volunteer to be a mentor, to speak at an event, encourage other women to join the organization, and then engage the companies you work for to support them as well. This conference is a great start for you to begin to try on different perspectives, to think about things in a new way. It's an invitation to up your game, to max out your potential, to become visionary. You have an opportunity to create your own incubator for transformation and a sacred sisterhood of support for the reinvention that follows. What I know for certain is that any transformation has to start with you taking your very first steps. Ladies, I know we are living in unprecedented times, but I believe that times of chaos are also times of great creativity and opportunity for change. I have never before felt so passionate, so energized, and so hopeful about what women can achieve when they band together to affect real positive change, not only for women in our industry, but for the world itself. And never before has there been a time when it was needed more. So let me ask you this. What if we looked for the positive side of disruptions? And if by doing so, We all transformed a little bit every day. What if by listening to our callings and the ideas and dreams that are stirring inside of us and acting on them, we were able to have an impact that was transformational to our companies that we work for and the communities that we live in and the people that we love? You know, you can do this as individuals, but most importantly, you can commit to each other here, today, right now, that you, as members of the Women in Cybersecurity Middle East, will unite to unleash both the power that lies within each and every one of you, as well as the collective power of the WiCSME community. My hope for you is that you will commit to amplifying each other's voices. You will commit to challenging each other to rise to be your best selves. You will commit to celebrating each other's successes, and you will commit to helping each other on your transformational journeys and the reinvention that follows. Join me in dreaming big and thinking beyond all the limits we have known as we summon up the courage, the will, and the commitment to transform our lives, our organizations, and our world. Thank you so much.